Most Chevys are protecting themselves in ways owners never notice. These are 14 hidden features that work every day. Number 14. Chevy's soft fail strategy. Most car systems are designed to either work or shut down completely. So why do so many Chevys feel like they're still okay even when something isn't quite right? That's because Chevrolet often programs systems to degrade instead of fail. So when something starts going wrong, the car eases you into it instead of leaving you stranded. Power steering doesn't just disappear. It slowly gets heavier, so you can still keep the car under control. And the cooling fans don't shut off either. They jump straight to full blast to keep temperatures in check. Even the throttle doesn't suddenly cut power. It softens the response to ease the load and keep heat from building up. The idea is simple and very intentional. Keep the vehicle stable, predictable, and safe long enough for you to get home or reach a service bay. These fallback behaviors reduce shock to mechanical parts and limit secondary damage. Most owners never realize it's happening, but this quiet decision-making is built into the car and working in the background every single day. Number 13. Brake pedal feel is tuned on purpose. Ever notice how Chevy brake pedals feel firm but predictable? And yeah, that's not accidental. Yeah, this was done on purpose. The idea was to make braking feel predictable instead of sharp or grabby, especially in real-world situations where people react fast but don't always react smoothly. By letting brake pressure build progressively, the system gives drivers a chance to stay balanced instead of instantly throwing all the weight onto the front tires. That matters a lot in bigger Chevys. In SUVs and trucks like the Tahoe or Silverado, sudden brake bite would just make the nose dive and jerk the whole vehicle. With this tuning, you can brake hard without the car feeling like it's sliding forward or out of shape. The pedal stays easy to modulate. Traction systems have time to work, and you're able to slow down with control instead of panic. Stopping smoothly is one thing, but keeping everything cool under pressure is a whole different game. Number 12. Hidden cooling headroom. Chevy engines are rarely running near their actual cooling limits. So why do Chevy engines seem unfazed when conditions start stacking up? Because this is where a lot of the quiet engineering shows up. Chevy builds extra breathing room into the cooling system, so it's never working right at the edge. Bigger radiators, larger oil coolers, and smarter fan logic mean the car can sit in traffic on a hot day, pull a trailer up a hill, or climb into thinner air without temperatures spiking right away. Instead of reacting at the last second, the fans ramp up early and stay steady, keeping heat under control before it becomes a problem. Oil temps stay more stable, coolant doesn't swing wildly, and everything around the engine lives an easier life. When cooling is overbuilt like this, nothing feels dramatic, because nothing ever needs to be. And it's not just temperature management. Chevy applies the same calm philosophy to how the car moves down the road. Number 11. Steering that centers itself. Chevy EPS systems subtly help the wheel return to center. Why does a Chevy feel calmer on the highway even when the road isn't perfect? That's where this kind of tuning really pays off. By keeping the vehicle settled and predictable, the system quietly takes work off the driver's plate. On long highway stretches, the car tracks straighter, so you're not constantly steering the wheel to stay centered. Small bumps, crosswinds, and uneven pavement don't pull the vehicle around as much, which means your hands and shoulders stay relaxed longer. Over time, that adds up. You arrive less tired, more focused, and not even fully aware of why the drive felt easier. It just feels calm and natural. Once the steering feels settled, the next thing you start noticing is how the car shifts over time. Number 10. Transmission learning logic. Chevy transmissions don't just shift, they learn. Ever notice how a Chevy feels smoother the longer you own it? That's where the software starts doing some quiet work in the background. As you drive, the car pays attention to how you use the throttle, how often you're in traffic, how much load it usually carries, and how aggressive or relaxed your inputs are. Over time, shift points soften, gear changes line up better with your habits, and the drivetrain stops feeling jumpy or rushed. It's not trying to make the car faster, it's trying to make it last. That's why a Chevy with a few thousand miles often feels more settled than it did new. The vehicle isn't wearing out, it's learning how to move with you instead of against you. But here's the thing, a lot of these features don't exist to just feel good. And that brings us to something most owners never notice until it's gone. Number 9. Chevy's conservative oil pressure targets. Chevy engines often run lower oil pressure than expected. And you might be thinking, isn't higher pressure better? And that's where the thinking usually goes wrong. Higher pressure sounds better on paper, but in real use, it just makes the system work harder than it needs to. Chevy designs many of these systems to move fluid smoothly and consistently instead of forcing it through under stress. That lowers pump effort, keeps temperatures in check, and avoids loading seals and internal components all day long. Over time, chains stretch less, bearings stay smooth, and seals don't get cooked by constant heat. It's not the kind of engineering you feel on a test drive, but it shows up years later when nothing is leaking or wearing out early. Oil flow is one part of the story. How power actually reaches the wheels is another. Number 8. Deliberately slow throttle mapping. Ever notice Chevys don't jump off the line? Why does a Chevy feel calmer off the line even when it has plenty of power? And this ties directly into how Chevy thinks about longevity. Instead of dumping all the torque in at once, the throttle is shaped to put out power smoothly, especially from a stop or at low speeds. That gives axles and mounts time to take the load instead of getting hit with it. Transmissions don't have to scramble through gears, and driveline lash stays under control. You still get the same engine output when you ask for it, just delivered in a way that feels more controlled. Quick timeout. If you're enjoying this breakdown so far, take 1 second to like the video and subscribe. Most people watching right now aren't subscribed, and it really helps the channel more than you think. Alright, let's get back to the video now. Number 7. Silent electrical redundancy. Chevy wiring looms often include backup paths. How does a Chevy keep working when electronics don't behave perfectly? So instead of everything going dark when one thing fails, the system is built to adapt and keep moving. Circuits are designed with backups, signals can take alternate paths, and control modules talk to each other constantly to decide what actually needs full power and what can be dialed back. If a sensor drops out, the car doesn't panic. It switches to a safe fallback and keeps things stable. Fuel delivery stays controlled, steering assist stays predictable, and warning systems stay alive long enough to get your attention. To the driver, nothing dramatic happens. That quiet resilience is intentional. It's meant to buy time and get you home instead of leaving you stranded. And surprisingly, one of the biggest helpers isn't under the hood. It's in the cabin. Number 6. HVAC logic that protects the engine. Chevy's climate system isn't just about comfort. It's tied into engine management to quietly reduce heat and load when conditions get tough. Most people think the AC only cools the cabin, but what if it's quietly doing something else in the background? And that's exactly what's happening in the background. The system is constantly balancing comfort and protection without making a big deal out of it. If engine temperatures start creeping up, the car can ease off the AC compressor. adjust fan speed, or reroute airflow to help pull heat away more efficiently. On cooler days, it might do the opposite and use airflow more aggressively without you ever noticing. The cabin still feels normal, but under the hood, things are being managed carefully. It's small adjustments, made early, that prevent bigger problems later. Heat control is one thing, but what happens when the engine is pushed right to its limits? Number 5. Built-in overrev protection you never feel. Instead of harsh cutoffs, Chevy manages overrev situations smoothly, easing power back to protect the engine without shocking it. Push a Chevy hard near redline, and it doesn't fight you. It guides you. And that's not accidental. And that's the key difference. Instead of slamming into a hard cutoff, the system gently eases things back. Fuel delivery tapers, ignition timing softens, and the engine settles before anything gets stressed. Valves aren't snapping shut at extreme speeds, rods aren't getting shocked, and rotating parts stay balanced instead of going against the momentum. Power just stops building. That smooth intervention protects the valve train, reduces shock loads across the crank and bearings, and keeps heat spikes in check. It's subtle, but over time, that restraint keeps the engine healthier than one that's pushed to the edge every single time. Up to now, everything sounds smart, logical, and conservative. But there's one place where Chevrolet did something completely unexpected. Number 4. Overbuilt frames on normal cars. Even non-performance Chevys get stronger than needed structural parts, helping the car stay tight and solid as mileage adds up. Ever notice how some high-mile cars start to feel loose, and some just don't? That's not an accident. Chevy builds these pieces with extra margin so they don't loosen up as miles pile on. Stronger subframes keep suspension geometry where it's supposed to be. Mounts stay tight instead of sagging, and crossmembers don't flex every time the road gets rough. Over time, that stiffness pays off in small ways you actually feel. Fewer creaks, fewer vibrations, doors that still shut cleanly, and a chassis that feels like one solid piece instead of parts just vibrating too much. It's quite durable, but it's exactly why older Chevys still feel put together instead of worn out. Strong structures are great, but they only last if the drivetrain isn't constantly being abused. Number 3. Software limits that protect hardware. Chevy builds in conservative limits early, keeping engines and drivetrains away from stress points that shorten lifespan. On paper, these engines could make more power. So why isn't Chevy letting them? That trade-off is intentional. Those limits aren't there to kill fun, they're there to protect parts when real life gets messy. Heat, traffic, towing, bad fuel, it all adds up. Torque caps soften the hit, thermal limits keep temperatures under control, and shift logic avoids sudden shock. Over time, that means fewer cracked mounts, fewer stressed clutches, and less wear piling up quietly. Most drivers never notice it happening, but the hardware definitely does. Even with all those limits in place, none of it matters if the fuel going in isn't perfect. Number 2. Fuel system designed for bad fuel. Chevy assumes fuel won't always be perfect and designs systems that adapt quickly to protect the engine anyway. Not every tank of fuel is good fuel, and Chevy plans for that from the start. That's where this really matters. Injectors, pumps, and the control logic around them are built with real-world fuel in mind, and not perfect lab conditions. NOx sensors listen constantly and react almost instantly, pulling timing before damage ever starts. Fuel trims adjust on the go, smoothing things out even when combustion isn't ideal. Instead of forcing the engine to run at the edge, the system backs it off just enough to stay safe. You might never feel the correction from the driver's seat, but internally, it keeps temperatures stable, pressures reasonable, and parts from taking unnecessary hits. And once you step back and look at all of this together, the real goal becomes obvious. Number 1. The real priority. Taken together, these choices reveal what Chevy actually designs for: long-term survival in everyday driving, and not short-term excitement. Once you line all these details up, one pattern becomes impossible to ignore. And that's the bigger picture. Chevrolet didn't build these systems to win arguments or impress the loudest enthusiasts online. They built them to survive real use, real mistakes, and real owners who don't baby their cars. When you're building millions of vehicles for every kind of driver, durability matters more than drama. These features quietly step in when someone skips maintenance, pushes a little too hard, or drives in conditions that aren't ideal. The car doesn't shame you for it, it just adapts and keeps going. It's how engines last longer, drivetrains stay intact, and owners spend more time driving than fixing. So the next time someone calls a Chevy boring, remember this: boring usually means nothing broke. If you owned one of these, which feature surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments. And if you want more deep dives like this, hit subscribe. There's a full video on the channel that connects perfectly with what we just talked about. It's worth watching next.